Welcome back to another episode of Wicked Hot Guys. This is John.
And Kevin.
And we are at it with yet again. Actually, this is going to be our second to last episode of the year.
Yeah.
For Wicked Hot Movie Mayhem Season 1.
We're going to end it on a strong 40 episodes for the year, and then we'll go into 2019 killing it like we have been.
Yes, agreed. But unfortunately, we did not kill it with the social networking and the Instagram post for this week. But Kevin, if we did post something, what would it be?
It would probably be a home video of like Aladdin 3 Lost in India or something, which was a it could have been direct to VHS movie.
I think you're thinking of Aladdin Prince of Thieves, I think, or King of Thieves.
Well, that's the second one. I'm talking about maybe a made up third one.
Yeah, I don't think there was a third one. But so this week's topic, we were talking about movies that were supposed to go straight to VHS, but ended up being released in theaters, and movies that were straight to VHS or streaming or what have you, but that garnered a lot of interest because of it being kind of like a cult or straight to VHS movie that has gotten a lot of praise despite not being in theaters.
Yeah, I know for the ones that I picked, they did have a release, but it wasn't like... I'll get into it, but it wasn't anything to write home about.
Right. And as always, we will be going over 2 movies for each category, starting off with our films that almost went to VHS.
Wicked smart, wicked cool, wicked fucking stupid, whatever the fuck. Something wicked.
I'm baking like a toasted Caesar. It's so hot here.
My boy's wicked smart.
Cause the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot, hot.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
My first one, I fully expected this and am not surprised in the least at the fact that this was heading to a straight-to-video release. And that is The Expendables.
Oh, God.
The whole reason it was originally intended for a direct-to-video release is because, I mean, at this point, Stallone's current career trajectory, his last movie before Expendables was in 2008, which was Rambo.
Okay,
like,
the
just
new Rambo, yeah.
New Rambo, yeah. Rambo '08. And before that, in 2006, he did Rocky Balboa, which was essentially the last Rocky before we got Creed and Creed 2. This is kind of, I think it's going to be a little of a hot take right now, but without his 2 signature roles, he's basically been in random, bad, forgettable movies.
I'm trying to think of anything.
Spy Kids 3.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else. He's been at Judge Dredd. That's not one of his main franchises.
See, that's the thing, though. If he was still Judge Dredd in the reboot with Carl Urban, I'd give it to you. But Carl Urban is 1,000 times better.
I actually did not see the new Judge Dredd.
Ooh, you're missing out, dude. Gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Is he from Philly?
Are you looking it up?
Okay, so he's not from Philly. He's from New York, which I feel like I should have known that. But
close enough,
yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
A Philly is basically a New Yorker that's more of an asshole. So you just got to be a New Yorker with.
You don't.
Hey, I've been to Philadelphia. I've been to Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've seen the Atlantic Ocean?
No.
Isn't Philly on the coast?
No. At least it wasn't when I drove through it.
The only
thing I saw was a river, like the Delaware River, I think it was.
Oh, okay. So
that was the only water that I saw when I was there.
No, you're right. Yeah, it's on a river, not... Clearly, anytime there's a body of water next to something, I'm like, ocean, done.
You should know this. This is your neck of the woods.
That's true. Maybe the Delaware River spills into the ocean, and then it's kind of like a extension of the
I'm pretty
ocean.
sure it does. It does.
Okay.
So let's just call it the Atlantic and be done with it.
Perfect. But yeah, in any case, Stallone was having a tough time selling to studios the fact that he can helm an action movie, not only because of his older age, but his last movie was Rambo in 2008. It only grossed $42 million. The budget was $50 million.
Oof.
And it was critically bashed. I remember this coming out and it was just forgotten immediately.
Yeah, I never saw it.
I think it was poorly marketed too. I could seldom remember the commercials. The studios ended up all turning down Stallone's idea of the action movie because he just couldn't garner the interest, and clearly with the performance of Rambo, I mean, he fucked up an action movie, which I feel like it should be a pretty, I mean, if John Wick can be about a movie, a guy going to revenge after his dog getting killed, and you can't do Rambo, which is like
John
a badass guy in the jungle.
John Wick doesn't say that much in the movie, so it's almost impossible to fuck up a guns a-blazing action movie, and he did.
Yeah, he did. So the studios basically were only accepting this as a direct-to-video film.
Oh God.
Stallone ended up calling his buddies Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis and basically asked them to help out and revive his dying career, to which they obliged.
Is that what he said on the phone? He's like, hey, I have a dying career. Can you help me?
I hope that's what he said. And a Schwarzenegger, I think at this time, wasn't he still the governor?
Yes.
So he's just like, I have all these policies, but my boy Stallone's, he's having a tough time, so I'm going to go help him out.
Yeah.
But Stallone ended up asking via Twitter, as everyone normally does, and said, quote, how would you like to see me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis in a movie together? It really bothered me he didn't use the and Bruce Willis. Because it just says Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis in a movie together.
Yeah, that's a little off-putting.
It is.
Seeing that. But when was this? Because Twitter hasn't been around. Is this like the infancy of Twitter?
No, this was in
like 2010 or 11?
I think 2009, or maybe it is 2010. Good job.
Wow.
So yeah, he must have done it in 2009. The campaign made everyone go nuts, and the studio basically had no option but to release the movie theatrically.
That's funny. That's like the opposite of what happened a couple weeks ago when we talked about people throwing out the ideas for sequels and stuff like that and franchises.
I think Russell Crowe wanted this.
Yeah, he wanted this reaction. He's like, "Hey, anybody interested in a Master Commander 2?" And nobody responds. And Sylvester Stallone.
I was gonna say Master and Commander 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis. Imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis in a 18th or 19th century period piece naval movie.
It's hard to picture them in anything that's not like Die Hard or Terminator.
Yeah, they have to be working class guys and just shooting people up.
Yeah.
Or robots.
Robots, yeah. No in between.
No. The irony of the Expendables is that, despite it not going to VHS, it has one of the largest straight to VHS like cast of heroes. Because
that is true. Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren's in it. Randy Savage, isn't it? Right? No. Rampage Jackson?
Randy Couture. Randy Couture.
No, Randy Savage is Macho Man's coming. He should have been in that movie. That would have been fucking awesome.
It's funny. Me and Kathy were talking last night. We were going to watch 3:10 to Yuma, and I kept calling Russell Crowe Kurt Russell. And she's like, that's the most closest you can be with still it being a legitimate person's name.
That's true.
And I feel like that's how it just went for Rampage Jackson. Or no, Randy Savage.
Randy Savage. I feel like Randy Savage, Rampage Jackson, that's a name.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole name.
And we were both wrong. It's Randy Couture.
Yeah.
I think that's like the first and last thing he was in.
I think Rampage Jackson was an A-team. That's what it was.
Yes.
And we spoke about that last week?
Yeah, franchises.
Okay, all right. Wow, this got way off topic. But yeah, back to Expendables. But yeah, the irony, the whole thing, it's all straight to VHS heroes. And the funny thing about this movie is that I'm pretty sure in Expendables 1, Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger are in one scene. And then the rest is...
I think that was I remember hearing about him being in the movie, Schwarzenegger. And he said that he didn't want to do any acting while he was a governor. And he basically did this as a favor to Stallone. I didn't realize that it was because his career was in shambles. It just kind of seemed like, hey, it's my buddy. I'll be in a scene.
Yeah, because I think they all meet up in a church, and that's the only scene with them together, is in Expendables 1. Now, Expendables 2 and 3 is a different story because in 3, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis are very prominently featured in it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not going to lie. Expendables 3, I'm a fan.
I don't know if I've seen Expendables 3.
If you haven't, you should. It's a good time.
I've definitely seen 1 and 2. I may even have Expendables 3 on Blu-ray.
Isn't 3 with Jean-Claude Van Damme? He's the bad guy.
I thought, if it is, then I've seen it.
Yeah, Expendables 3 is with Mel Gibson. That's my mistake. It's actually Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis are prominently featured in 2 and 3 because 3 is with Mel Gibson. Not a fan of 3. Well, I haven't seen 3. Big fan of 2 because Jean-Claude Van Damme was fucking awesome in that, which is kind of, it's that you're going on a limb to say that was that good. Also, it had Chuck Norris in it. I mean, I don't know. It kind of had everyone great in that movie.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of 1 and 2.
I'm not a fan of 1. I think 1
I
is...
like 1. Which is the one with Angel Batista from Dexter? Is that 2 or 1?
That's the first one. And
okay.
I just have to say, the latter 2 Expendables films, they feel more like a theatrical release. Expendables 1 feels like a straight-to-video movie.
It kind of does.
Which is why I'm surprised it garnered enough interest to release 2 sequels because, and to your point, Angel Batista from Dexter is this South American dictator, and he's fucking awful.
He's bad.
Like he's cringeworthy in everything, honestly. I don't even really like him in...
I think he's really good in Dexter.
In
Expendables, I thought he was god-awful.
But you know what I'm saying? I feel like the studio was just like, yeah. Arnold and Bruce. It feels weird just saying Bruce.
Bruce Willis.
It doesn't feel weird saying Arnold. Arnold and Bruce Willis. We're good with them being in it, but we're still going to give it like the straight to VHS feel. And then I guess at the last minute, they're like, okay, this is decent enough. Let's just throw it on the film reel rather than the VHS. Even though it's 2010.
I know. We use the term straight to VHS as like... It couldn't be any worse than straight to VHS. So even when I'm talking about like a 2009 movie, I'm still talking like straight to VHS.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying though? Like it has
it definitely has that feel, especially with Angel Batista as the villain because
you could have got such a better
He's
villain.
so bad. And the accent, like I get that he's
Hispanic,
but
he's not
he doesn't pull off the accent at all.
No, he doesn't. Because he's I'm pretty sure he's American or from Puerto Rico, but like those people don't necessarily have like Spanish accent. I mean, if he's an actor like in America,
yeah,
he is not going to have an accent. So he's like trying to pull off like a Hispanic person who doesn't really know how to speak English accent, and just like, bro, no, stop.
For whatever reason, it's bad. I think it's because he's Puerto Rican trying to do a Mexican accent. And he's just doing his like regular Puerto Rican accent, thinking that's what it is, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
So you think it's like a what's it called, a Chris Hemsworth situation where he can't do American or British accents?
Yeah,
to the untrained ear, he can, but
I think it's more like Keanu Reeves in Dracula.
That's bad though. That's like really bad. Well, you know, just I guess after talking about Angel Batista's character in Expendables, that's not even his name, but
I don't even know his real name. Just Angel Batista to me.
I'm wondering if maybe because he was such a horrible villain that it made Jean-Claude Van Damme better, or maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme was pretty awesome in 2.
Oh man, that's a good point. He could be awful, but maybe I should go back and watch Expendables 2.
Rewatch, yeah,
and just. You know, because Expendables 1 is completely out of my mind. I don't remember shit except for the horrible acting and the feel of
it. Yeah.
So my first movie that was supposed to go direct to, I'm just going to say VHS, even though this is 2009.
Let's just stick with VHS.
Supposed to go direct to VHS was Slumdog Millionaire.
That's so surprising.
It's crazy to think that a movie that won like 8 Oscars was supposed to go direct to VHS. In August of 2007, Warner Brothers Independent Pictures acquired the rights to distribute the movie. And a few months before they started filming, Time Warner announced that they would merge with New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers. Basically, after a few months, Warner Independent Pictures was completely shut down. And this basically left the fate of the movie in limbo because everything under Warner Independent Pictures went back to Warner Brothers, and they had an insane slate of movies that everybody was working on. And
So this was like under like their indie label.
yeah, it was, like in the mid 90s, early 2000s, all these major studios were making indie studios for whatever reason. Like people
like
wouldn't understand that. What's
Universal Pictures or something could
yeah,
have.
like people wouldn't understand that. Like Searchlight or something was like a Fox company or like
Touchstone was a
yeah,
Disney company.
like people just I don't know. Maybe
they
thought,
needed to come up with like indie shell companies, so like they'll never suspect that they're giving to a big major studio.
I know. I don't understand.
The
Like
fools.
if a movie is good, I don't really care like what production studio made it.
Yeah, it's funny. A little side tangent. I follow this meme account on Instagram, and for some reason they posted you know how like the logo of like WB is like it looks in the gold and then it zooms out
Yeah,
and it's like a studio. It looks like a studio in a gold reflection.
yeah.
The caption was, you know it's going to be a good movie when you see this. I'm like, what?
I don't know about that.
I don't know about like Warner Brothers. Maybe if it's like a fucking Marvel logo, sure.
Maybe if it's a Harry Potter movie. That's the only one I can think of that's like.
But Harry Potter doesn't do that. It just does the zoom in to the logo like in clouds.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't do.
And you get hyped because of the music, not the fucking Warner. Like, oh fuck, Warner Brothers is doing it again.
That's true. The music and the Harry Potter logo at the beginning is like what gets me hyped, not the Warner Brothers logo.
Yeah, let's not get into Harry Potter because I've been marathoning it right now.
Okay. So the studio is back to Slumdog Millionaire. The studio has serious doubts about the commercial prospects of Slumdog Millionaire. So they bumped it off the November 2008 schedule, and it technically had no set release date after that. They were actually, they were considering making it direct to VHS, and it's actually hilarious because the chief of Warner Brothers, Alan Horn, said in August of 2008, that they were shopping the movie, trying to get rid of the rights to it, and
completely. So not even sending it straight to VHS.
Yeah, they basically didn't want to deal with the marketing or anything like that. Like,
right.
Even producing VHSs for it.
Right. Well, because I was going to say that it doesn't make sense for something this small for the studio to just say, all right, we're going to go straight to VHS on this.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to buy Slumdog Millionaire at the video store without knowing the accolades behind it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like even when it was sort of an Oscar contender movie, the synopsis wasn't something that was making you fly over to the theater, you know?
You couldn't sell it just off of the synopsis.
No, you couldn't.
So Alan Horn, the Warner Brothers chief at the time, he said, "We're not going to give it away. If we can't find a buyer, we'll put it out in a few markets, perhaps Chicago, New York, Toronto, and see if it works. I'm a big believer in letting the audience decide what it thinks. I like the movie. I just don't know how big the audience is for it." So he was already shitting on the movie before. Like, if you're trying to shop a movie, why are you going to shit on the movie before? Like, why would you do that?
No.
You're trying to make some money on the movie. A few weeks after that statement, they actually ended up selling 50% of the stake in Slumdog Millionaire to Fox Searchlight, which is another faux independent movie production.
At least they're straightforward and say they're Fox Searchlight.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. At least it's got Fox in the name. So Fox took on the movie and handled the marketing and distribution and set up a theatrical release for November 2009. So this is basically a year after it's supposed to come out.
So Fox is doing the distribution as opposed to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, so Warner Brothers basically paid for the production of the movie, and Fox handled basically everything after it.
Okay. This is kind of like Master and Commander with like 50 fucking production companies involved with getting this movie out.
Yeah, yeah. After months of uncertainty, Slumdog Millionaire finally made its premiere at the Telluride Film Festival, and had amazing reviews from critics that saw it. And the screenings at the Telluride Film Festival, all of them were completely full. People would clap at the end of the movie. They would clap along with the dance number at the end. And the filmmakers knew that they had a hit on their hands, but they didn't realize that it was going to be like such a large thing. So the studio was still reluctant to give it a wide release. It wasn't until the Toronto Independent Film Festival that the movie aired and won the People's Choice Award. And at that time, it was kind of, it was like this, big deal. It was the start of this trend where a movie that won People's Choice Award at the Toronto Independent Film Festival went on to at least be nominated for Best Picture for like since 2009. So, and it's happened every year. So almost 10 years it's happened. And Slumdog Millionaire was the start of that.
Every time the People's Choice Award, that's who goes into the Oscars?
Yeah. It just happens to be nominated for Best Picture.
Isn't People's Choice Award like fucking like Best Female Superhero? Like that's a...
No, this is the People's Choice Award.
And there's like two people up.
No.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the People's Choice Awards. No, this is the People's Choice Award at the Toronto.
Okay, singular, not plural.
Yes, yeah. It's it's what the festival goers vote on at the end of the festival. As their favorite movie.
I was like, was this category after Hunkiest Villain?
Or Best Kiss or something?
Best Kiss.
Best on-screen chemistry or something like that.
Yeah. Now you're kind of getting into like the Woodies. Like
that's like the MTV Movie Award ground right there. Or
I was thinking of the AVN Awards. If you're going Best Kiss and Best On-Screen Chemistry, I'm like, oh, we're treading onto some different territory.
That's true. That is true. So Fox decided to release the movie in waves. So basically in November, they had some very limited theaters show the movie. December and January, same thing. And then on the 23rd, it was released wide. The next weekend, it was nominated for 10 Academy Awards.
Shit.
So, yeah, Fox hit like a gold mine from, buying this from Warner Brothers. So
wait, so Fox is the one that...
Well, it's basically 50-50 owned. So Warner Brothers is reaping the rewards of Fox's chance taking on the movie.
But who gets the Oscar at the studio? Because I've been to Columbia Pictures and they have the Oscars in the studio tour.
I'm pretty sure it's
So who's showing those off?
I'm pretty sure
it's it.
No, it's usually the production company that produces it.
So in other words, Fox kind of got fucked.
I think they did, yeah, because I'm pretty sure.
Not financially though.
No, definitely not financially. And that looks good on your resume if you're looking for a job as a studio director.
That's true. I made us a shit ton of money.
Yeah. So Slumdog Millionaire was made for about $15 million and went on to gross worldwide about $377 million.
What?
Yeah.
I had no idea it made that much.
Yeah. So
holy shit.
Yeah. Went on to win 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay. And the rest is pretty much history.
Wow. I wonder how much people got paid to do that movie. Because it was filmed entirely in India, was it not?
Yeah, it's actually one of the first movies to be nominated or to win an Oscar for Best Picture with at least a third or more of the movie being not in English.
Right. And the entire cast is not white.
Yeah.
Not that has any bearing. I feel like that's a major achievement for Oscars.
Yeah. And
because Oscars are quite bleached in their process of nominating and winning.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's impressive. I mean, 15 million, the returns on that is fantastic. So not only do you get an Oscar, but you made a super cheap movie and got a really big return.
Yeah, that's kind of shitty because Warner Brothers put up the 15 million to make the movie. And they get half of Fox's work marketing the movie.
Hey, if you market a good movie, it's going to do well. Even if you market a shit movie, it's going to do well.
Yeah, and they basically what happened was that after it won the Critics' Choice Award or the People's Choice Award at the Toronto Film Festival, they started to market it as an Oscar movie. So they were doing the shit that we hate, marketing it as an Oscar movie.
I will say, out of all the Oscar movies, not all, but it definitely doesn't scream like, oh, I'm an Oscar movie. It feels more like, oh, this is how like Bollywood movies are, kind of. Because I mean, they do have like the dance number at the end, and just kind of exposing us to that. I love the movie. I think it's great.
It's probably one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years or so.
Let's talk about a movie that we've never spoken about or watched.
Oh God.
And that's Annihilation.
Oh, fuck.
Which is like it's a weird one because although it did get released in theaters in the US, it's still in a way also went straight to video on demand.
That's the Natalie Portman one, right?
That's correct. Yes. So Annihilation. Paramount wanted to get another hit like how it did for Arrival in 2016. Paramount produced, distributed, did all that stuff for Arrival, the Amy Adams Alien movie where she's like speaking or talking to them, whatever
I hated
it is.
that. I fucking hated that movie.
Oh, really? Haven't seen that one either.
I couldn't stand it. It got really good reviews, but I could not stand it. I fell asleep, and I never
It got
fall
really
asleep
good
during
reviews,
movies.
and I think it also is another one of those movies that just made a shit ton of money for an Oscar movie.
Yeah. It doesn't have the payout that it should have at the end of like 2 hours and 45 minutes of bullshit.
Well, Paramount thought they were going after a similar movie deal with Aliens, so they thought that would be a gold mine. And they ended up hiring director Alex Garland, and he wrote and directed Ex Machina.
Okay.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
It's like the android girl. But yeah, he also wrote and directed Annihilation, and although it seemed to be a match made in heaven, Paramount quickly got cold feet with it. If you've seen Ex Machina, you know it's not exactly a movie for mainstream audiences. And despite its success critically, it only made $25 million domestically. I saw the movie in theaters. I personally really enjoyed it. But I feel like it's one of those movies, and I don't know if you're like this, but if a movie's going to be kind of long and I really need to pay attention, I have to see it in theaters. Because if you're home on the couch, you're going to be fucking looking at your phone, you're going to be missing stuff, you're going to be like, it was fine, you know?
Yep.
In the theater, I was like, fuck yeah. I saw it at home with Marissa. I was just like,
yeah, I have that same problem. I have a focusing problem.
It's weird because it's not a theater experience thing. It's not like, oh, you need to see these conversations in, a 30, 40 foot screen,
Yeah.
But I feel like concentration wise, it helps me out because I'm not a dickhead that texts it in the theater.
But you don't get subtitles in theaters.
No, but see, I can, it's just because it's dark. Like all my senses are engaged to the listening and sight.
Okay.
So I feel like it heightens. Whereas at home, I got, the lights on and stuff. Marissa doesn't, because she'll fall asleep, supposedly.
Okay.
For Annihilation, the movie itself wasn't in any danger of not being released in theaters in the US, but it was in danger of not being released in theaters internationally. So much so that the studio did not have faith in the film to bring enough revenue overseas, and they ended up selling the rights to Netflix for an international distribution.
Wow.
It's funny because I love how Netflix is just like, yeah, we'll buy it. We don't care.
It's really like that South Park episode.
It really is. They picked up the phone. They're like, Netflix, you're greenlit. They're like, actually, we just want to offload the risk of however much this movie took to make. So the international market is yours. The whole reason Paramount ended up selling the rights was because of our favorite thing here at Wicked Hot, stupid test audiences.
Test audiences, damn it.
Which we realize time and again, they basically screw up everything.
They're usually wrong.
Yeah, except I think they may be right in this.
Okay.
So test audiences are what pushed Paramount to sell the rights because according to what Paramount said, audiences thought the film was too intellectual.
What?
I know you've seen the film. Do you agree with this? I think they meant it was more just difficult to understand. Those goddamn intellectuals trying to make us feel dumb.
I understand where they're coming from because I recently watched on Netflix The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and I hated every second of that movie.
Oh,
and
that sucks. I've been wanting to watch it.
That's what I thought when I watched it. I was like, do I just not understand this? Is this like above my head? Is this too smart?
Did you watch it with subtitles?
No.
Just saying.
I could understand what they were saying. It was just a bad movie. A really bad movie, and I'm wondering, like, what's wrong with me? I completely understand where they're coming from with this.
Well, as someone who's watched Annihilation and couldn't finish it, would you say that was the issue? That you just didn't really understand
I just
what
thought
they were talking about?
Yeah, kind of. I just thought it was bad, like a bad movie. And I don't like, once I notice a movie's bad, I will turn it off. Like, I don't give a fuck. My time is too precious to me to waste it on a terrible movie. So as soon as I'm like not into it, it's off.
Okay.
Which is what happened with BlacKkKlansman. I tried to like the movie, but
What?
I hated it.
No. I liked it a lot.
I couldn't stand it. I got halfway through it and turned it off.
Oh, I saw it in the theater.
Oh.
You turned it off. You went up there. You're like, fuck you, projectionist. I'm the projectionist now. And I turned the projector off. But yeah, back to Annihilation. Jesus Christ. Luckily, the studio did sell off the rights to Netflix on the international market because they were able to recoup some of the money to cover the budget of $40 million for Annihilation. I feel like that's very high.
I don't think so. That doesn't seem like a very high budget at all. Considering movies nowadays are like hundreds of millions of dollars in budget.
Yeah, but for that kind of movie, I'm thinking half that. Maybe it was Natalie Portman.
Yeah, Natalie Portman's salary alone is half that.
Yeah, I mean, she was in Star Wars. Let's be real. The movie flopped big time in the box office at $32 million.
Ooh.
So the studio, I think, may have recouped their investment. And for once, test audiences were kind of right and the studio was right in following the test audience. And just, they knew that they couldn't handle whatever it was. Clearly, you couldn't handle it. And I think you're one that can sit through Oscar-y kind of movies.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when you look at it now, studios are very risk averse. They've become less about the art, more about the business, which I can respect. But they know if normal people aren't going to get this, we just got to, just shut it down.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's what happened to The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, because that was a direct-to-Netflix movie. And just like Annihilation.
It was released in theaters, too. I think they also had a couple limited theatrical releases.
I think it has the same problem, that it's just not... It's not a movie that appeals to mass audiences. And that's what you need for a wide release movie.
Yeah, agreed.
So my next one is Saw. Saw was supposed to go direct to VHS, but Lionsgate...
I can see that.
Lionsgate picked up the worldwide distribution rights at the Sundance Film Festival a couple days before it premiered at the festival in January of 2004.
Wait a minute. Saw was at Sundance?
Yeah. Apparently it did very well.
I thought that was like for ritzy movies and then Aquaman, like in Entourage. Which is ironic because this is a James Wan movie, is it not?
It is, yeah.
Saw?
Yeah.
And James Wan is directing Aquaman.
That is true. A little tie-in there.
Ah, a little Entourage tie-in. Although I don't know if again, a DC superhero movie is the best place for
anybody
be premiered at Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah, it'd probably get booed because people at Sundance, they don't fuck around. Like if they're like me in theaters. Like if they don't like it, they'll fucking walk out and boo you.
yeah, they will. I could already see it. You know what they should do is for Aquaman, they should put like a Palme d'Or from Cannes Film Festival. And you're like, oh shit, and it's just like it's fucking Aquaman.
Yeah. So back to Saw. At Sundance, it played to a packed theater for 3 nights straight and received a very positive reception.
Wow.
The film actually ended up closing out the Toronto International Film Festival on September 18th of 2004. So Lionsgate initially planned to release the movie direct to VHS due to the positive reactions at Sundance. They chose to release it theatrically in during Halloween. So they sat on the movie for like almost an entire year before releasing it.
That's so risky. I guess they weren't confident enough. They're like, well, fuck it. We'll just throw it in with the rest of the scary movies.
Yeah. So when they bought it at Sundance, they bought it before it had ever been shown. And they bought it with the intention of it going direct to video. And after the 3 nights that it played at Sundance and the reception was amazing for it, they were like, we may have something here. And that's when they decided to release it in October of 2004. The film was originally rated NC-17, which I'm not surprised by.
Yeah.
So
it is one of those. It's like the Terrifier, right? Didn't you say that's straight to Netflix?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Terrifier would have been NC-17, 100%.
I'll have to watch it. I still haven't watched it.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but it's like a good slasher.
How's the villain?
Creep fest. He's good, but you don't really ever get closure on what's going on with him.
Okay.
So that's kind of a bummer. But Saw was initially rated NC-17, and part of Lionsgate buying it was that it had to be re-edited to be released with an R rating.
Did they say what they edited out?
No, but I really want to see a director's cut of the movie, which I think they have. So, I think they released it for the 10-year anniversary. They released a uncut version.
So was it because of the rating that they were going to keep it at VHS?
Yeah, it was
level?
Initially, it was the rating and the fact that they didn't think it could hold audiences, especially in January when they were initially going to release it.
Right.
So they held on to it till October, released it, at least an edited version of it. During that time, as like a cross promotion, for whatever reason, they did a Give Till It Hurts blood drive with the Red Cross. And they say part of that, the marketing for that, like the cross promotion, was something that blew Saw up into obviously what it is today, like a huge franchise.
Really?
So it opened in 2004 on Halloween. And the number 3 spot, and the number 1 that year was Ray and The Grudge. Very odd. Very odd 3 movies right there.
I love how Ray was released in October.
Yeah, Halloween movie.
They're like, yes, this is the best Halloween movie about Ray Charles.
So Saw...
Isn't that the guy who did Superstitious? But that's MC Hammer. I don't know why I thought that for a second. I was like, well, no, that makes sense.
Saw eventually became Lionsgate's second best opening after Fahrenheit 9/11. I can't imagine that having a better opening than any movie, honestly.
So what, Saw or Fahrenheit 9/11?
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Isn't that the documentary about the World Trade Center?
Yeah, that's the Michael Moore documentary.
Really? And that's their number 1 opening thing?
At this point in 2004, like now, it's like Lionsgate is doing big things. They're not.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, that's pretty pathetic, honestly.
Yeah, but I think they're doing like legit blockbusters now. So it's.
Do you know what Lionsgate was doing at the time before that? Because I feel like for a documentary and then Saw, which, I mean, let's be real. Now we don't think of it as something that's like an indie horror movie, but at the time it totally was.
Oh yeah, especially with the budget compared to.
Oh, it's so cheaply made.
Yeah, I think it was made for like less than 20 million or something.
All I know is black ping pong balls.
Yes, corner that black ping pong ball market.
That was their biggest expense. their most frivolous expense on the production budget.
Okay, so I can tell you that their highest grossing film now is Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Hunger Games, then Hunger Games: Mockingjay Part 1. And then Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 2.
I didn't know that they did both of them. Well, that makes sense. That if one, the other would follow. But
yeah, now Saw isn't even on this list for top Lionsgate grosses.
The irony of that is no one's talking about Hunger Games or even Twilight for that matter anymore.
That's true. It's pretty crazy that, half the movies on their list, well, La La Land is on there. That's pretty much it. Divergent is on there.
Oof.
Like, none of their movies have, like,
they really monopolized the teeny
did.
bopper series.
It's weird because Lionsgate does, like, teen movies and horror movies. That's pretty much, like, all they do.
Horror movies, yeah.
They do a lot of horror movies.
Didn't they do 300?
It was distributed by Warner Brothers, but it's Legendary. Yeah, Legendary Pictures.
Legendary Pictures.
Yeah.
They should come up with a shell company of like totally not Warner Brothers or totally not Fox or.
Yeah. I don't who in their right mind looks at a movie and they're like, who the fuck made this? And they're like, oh no, Warner Brothers, no. Like,
well, I mean, I will say, like, for instance, if you do like the Universal logo, good like accompanying music, like orchestral music.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it says a Comcast company.
That is true.
So if Comcast was like, Comcast, people would be like, fuck off, Comcast. We're not watching this shit.
That is very true.
You know what I'm saying? So
that's true. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. So the worldwide, back to Saw, by the way. The world, I just have to end it with the box office was 103 million worldwide for a movie that was supposed to go direct to VHS.
I have to say, the direct to VHS, it seems like people were a little afraid, and then there's just like, fuck you, millions of dollars.
Yeah. It's like, especially with Slumdog Millionaire, it's like, oh, we don't know how it's going to do, and we're just going to release it direct to DVD and not market it at all. And then it's like, oh, you know what? Let's just give it millions of dollars worth of marketing, and then all of a sudden it wins 8 Oscars and becomes like a $377 million profit.
Yeah. I guarantee you that would have been a $37,000 profit if they didn't market it and did it straight to DVD. Don't even make it then.
Yeah, because at that point, 2009, that's like Blockbuster is already going downhill at that point.
Oh yeah, because that's like when Netflix started.
Yeah, the mail service. So there's no way there's no way that Slumdog Millionaire, Saw, or anything that was supposed to go direct to VHS was gonna do anything.
Yeah,
in terms of selling and meeting numbers.
Oh yeah. All right, well that concludes our almost went to straight to VHS talk. Now let's get into a little bit of our cult movies / on demand movies. My first one is Boondock Saints. The story of the film is about as crazy as a Tarantino movie, which is ironic considering how much of a copy rather than an homage Boondock Saints is to Tarantino.
Really?
I think it's just such a copy.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, like it's like a cross between.
It's like Pulp Fiction and like Jackie Brown and Reservoir Dogs all rolled into one.
Yes.
Huh. Well, that's a bummer.
Think about it.
Thank you for ruining that movie for me.
But yeah, I mean, the whole story, it starts off with Troy Duffy's, which is the director, script in a bidding war and eventually being picked up by Miramax. Originally had a budget of $15 million and a bunch of top-notch 90s actors like Keanu Reeves, Kenneth Branagh, Ethan Hawke, Jeff Goldblum, and Mark Wahlberg. But in 1997, this all crumbled when Miramax pulled out because, in essence, our director, Troy Duffy, was a huge dick. And he's
like
quoted
a dick
as
name.
Troy Duffy. It does. Yeah. He's quoted as saying, quote, "I'm not worried about making enemies with Miramax. In fact, I'm looking forward to it."
Wow. What did he do before this? Like, did he
nothing?
Do anything?
This was his first. This was his first script.
Oh,
but like
my
God. The
God.
script garnered so much attention that every production company was out to get it, and eventually Miramax is the one that landed with it.
Oh God. He's one of those guys that gets hired on and thinks he should be a manager right away.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah. He's one of those guys. But so Miramax pulls out. Movie gets picked up by a production company called Franchise Pictures. And instead of having a $15 million budget, they now have a $6 million budget. Even though it was picked up, it was impossible to find a distributor for the film. Once it was done, like nobody really wanted to distribute. And I'm wondering if he who must not be named, Harvey Weinstein, had anything to do with basically burying this movie after Troy Duffy was a total dick to him and his production company.
I wouldn't put it past him.
I was going to say, I'm thinking 100% yes, and that's probably why. Because for the most part, it seems that a lot of the film, and it said it in a couple articles I read, they were afraid about the whole Miramax deal.
Yeah.
And I'm almost thinking like Harvey Weinstein's just telling these distribution companies, if you distribute this movie that I had to drop out of, you're not getting any of my stuff anymore, which seems kind of like a bad business decision because it's like saying, oh, I'm not going to sell you this stuff, but guess what? My only way to make money is if I sell you this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
But that's a
farmer
Harvey
who's not
Weinstein
selling
thing.
his cow. It is.
And
Maybe Troy Duffy didn't want to jerk off in front of him. Maybe that's what
that was a Louis C.K. thing, not a.
That's right.
I think if you get involved with Harvey Weinstein, you're asking for trouble. And I'm not just saying that because of like the sexual stuff, but he's known for being a scumbag, like ruin your fucking career type thing.
You're like a movie mogul that still has like the. I feel like movie guys back in like the 1920s and 30s were like that, and he's like the old school studio guy who's like involved with fucking everything, and he'll destroy you.
Yeah, and they have a pretty good representation of him in Entourage. And they don't ever call him Harvey Weinstein, they just call him Harvey. But it's implied that it's Harvey Weinstein, and from what I understand, like it's a very accurate representation of Harvey Weinstein.
Wow. Well, so the whole Miramax thing just kind of screwed everything up for distribution for Boondock Saints. And the Boondock Saints did go to theaters. It had a limited release in cinemas. And by that, I mean 5 theaters showed the movie for a week.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't really want to count this as a film that went to theaters because the movie made $30,000 in theaters.
Wow. So it sold like 100 tickets.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure all those tickets were to critics because critics jumped on this movie for being a shitty version of a Tarantino movie.
Oh, God.
And I mean, like we said in the beginning, I have to agree, not because of the Tarantino thing, but because it was panned by critics. The 2 main characters aren't what's good about the movie for me. And let's be honest, Willem Dafoe is the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Because Norman Reedus sucks, in period. I think he's fucking horrible, even in Walking Dead.
Even in Walking Dead?
I know I think everyone loves him. He just sucks. He's awful.
Yeah, I mean, he's good in Walking Dead, but I just don't think he's a great actor in anything else I've ever seen him in.
Yeah. Which, I mean, let's be honest. What else have you seen him in? I completely forgot he was in Boondock Saints. To be real with you.
Yeah, I can't think of anything besides those 2.
But in any case, how did this movie get to become the big hit that it was, or bigger hit? Not like huge, but you get the idea. Troy Duffy was later able to get funding from Blockbuster, and the extinct video store, unfortunately, released the film on video as a Blockbuster exclusive. You remember the Blockbuster exclusives. Those are some good shit.
Yeah.
Some good Blockbuster exclusives. The film to date has made $25 million in DVD and Blu-ray sales, and it was supposedly re-released in 2006, but I couldn't find any information on how much it made and like where it was released. I just know that it was re-released in 2006. It could have been like one of those Fathom events things, maybe.
Yeah, I found that with mine, that there's not a lot of numbers on the re-release after it becomes a cult classic.
Yeah, which is so weird because you would think Box Office Mojo would still count that. I mean, it's in theaters again.
Yeah, it really needs to count after something becomes a cult, and I don't know how they figure that out, but like the box office or the tracking after that, because that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, granted, I think it came out in 2000, Boondock Saints, but have an entry for Boondock Saints 2000, and then have one for 2006, and then compare the numbers.
Yeah. So movies getting a second life on home video isn't anything new, but for Office Space, it was a little different, a little rocky. So the movie was produced for about $10 million, and it was released in 1999 and barely made back its $10 million. Opening
I
weekend.
had no idea this wasn't released in theaters.
It was released in theaters, but it went to actual VHS very shortly after it was released in theaters. So it was released in theaters to like 1,700 screens and only made about $4 million in its opening week.
That's embarrassing.
And just under 10 million total theaters. It actually didn't do well in DVD sales, and it was like bottom of the shelf blockbuster rental.
Ooh.
And it's crazy because it wasn't until 2 years after it came out on DVD that Comedy Central started running the movie. And that's where it got its cult status.
Get out.
So over the next 2 years, Comedy Central aired the movie over 30 times. After they started airing the movie, VHS and DVD sales jumped to 2.5 million people.
Wow.
In those 2 years.
This may be controversial, but do you think it was good because it was free? And then people ended up buying it afterwards? I feel like that may be the case.
That may be the case. I saw it on Comedy Central probably 10 times.
Yeah, because I had no idea about this movie until I did. And I didn't know, I guess Comedy Central was a big thing for me and for like a lot of my friends in, middle school and high school. So
yeah, and that was right around the time that it would have
come out.
So that would have been 2002-ish. Yeah, because it came out on DVD in 1999 and didn't start airing.
Comedy Central to 2002. Oh,
yeah.
Well, then it must have been way before my time then.
Yeah, so
I mean, not way before, but
so in that span of 2 years, 2.5 million people bought the VHS or DVD. So it's funny because the film's success in the after theatrical run and the DVD run was actually beneficial to the stapler company Swingline. So as we talked about
the red stapler.
Yeah, we talked about last week with product placement and companies allowing productions to use their products. Swingline actually declined to have their product in the movie. And I didn't know you could do this, but Mike Judge said, fuck it. And he said, we're going to have a Swingline stapler in there anyways.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could get sued for that, right?
Yeah, apparently. So the production team needed a bright color, so they decided to make the Swingline red. And that's the only reason there's a red stapler. So at the time, Swingline didn't even sell a red stapler. And after the movie, they had so many orders for red staplers that they had to release a red stapler.
Wow.
And they even said later on that it was a mistake not to be involved with making the movie.
Was it though? I mean, they still get the revenue from it.
Yeah, they still got the revenue, but I feel like they could have done some cross promotion or like at least had a red stapler ready to be released when the movie. I guess,
or they could have a cutout in Office Depots or Office Maxes of the guy. Here are all the red staplers to buy, like an actual a planogram for including that.
Exactly, they could have done some actual marketing with it, but it's crazy that a cult movie like 4 years after it comes out finally has its success on VHS and DVD, and then affects a market that it wasn't really even attending to.
Yeah, stapler buyers.
Stapler. And it's funny because the reason that the executives at Swingline said that they didn't want to be in the movie was that they said customers would not trade up for a new version of a stapler just because of a movie. Which was completely wrong because people did.
Boy, were they wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little twofer. Product placement and
it is.
Cult movie.
Now, imagine if James Bond had that stapler.
And a Heineken.
Stapler made by Burberry. So, Kevin, I think this is a rare time where you actually don't know one of my topics because I picked it one of my movies because I picked it so late. And I actually completely forgot about this one. considering it was a massively marketed movie that had all the promise of being released in theaters, and then suddenly it wasn't. And that is
God, what is this?
The Interview.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. And I'm specifically talking about 2014's The Interview, starring Seth Rogen and James Franco. For any of you that don't remember this movie, it was a comedy that dealt with a talk show host being sent to North Korea to assassinate Kim Jong-un.
It's actually a really funny movie.
It is a really funny movie.
It's stupid as you would think, but it is a pretty good movie.
Oh, no, I 100% enjoyed this movie a lot. And it was a pretty tumultuous post-production, as the original release date of the film was October 10th, and it was pushed back on August of the same year. In June, Kim Jong-un had stated that the release of this film would be an act of war, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's on the lines of basically everything that comes out of that country. Yeah. They say this every week, so I could understand why Columbia Pictures would not be concerned by this at all. Fast forward to November, though, and Sony Pictures, which is the parent company of Columbia, the film's distribution company, was hacked by a cyber terrorist organization. The hackers ended up leaking emails, employee records, and I think they also released some unreleased films to the public, really? But The Interview wasn't one of them. Despite the hack...
Was this in retaliation to them still trying to release the movie?
Yes, so they had suspected that, but it wasn't confirmed until December when they had sent a message about it. But yeah, despite the fact that the hack was definitely connected to the creation and eventual release of The Interview, Sony continued with the intention to release the film. They held the premiere in LA on December 11th. Then the hackers responded again on December 16th, saying that if Sony released the film, that multiple attacks would be staged in theaters across the United States. They mentioned 9/11 and that people would remember the day that they released this movie, blah, blah, blah. That response scared Sony. It prompted them to cancel the release of the film in its entirety and not release it to the public at all.
That's a bummer.
Either theaters or via digital downloads. So all of this would have been for naught. And I think it also is related because Sony canceled the screenings altogether because of the response of theater chains. So it's like saying like, oh, I break up with you. And you respond with, well, actually, no, I break up with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, AMC, Cinemark, Regal, and Cineplex dropped their distribution with Sony for the film. A lot of them cited that it was because of that shooting in the theater that happened.
Yeah,
I think a couple of years prior.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who dressed up as the Joker or whatever. Yeah. Except not really. He looked nothing like the Joker.
Yeah.
He had green hair.
News people were saying that he was dressed up as the Joker, which is not true.
Not accurate at all.
No.
But yeah, Sony received a lot of criticism actually from the White House for their decision in canceling the release of The Interview.
Which White House?
Obama White House.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of our thing to not negotiate with terrorists. So
yeah,
they, in a sense, they negotiated but got nothing out of it.
I gotta say, like, it's a bitch move not to release the movie. Because then you let them win. Like, they weren't going to do anything. They're just threatening you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a hot take, but Sony is like in Japan. So maybe because they're close to North Korea, they're like, oh, shit. They'll come after Sony headquarters.
Range. Yeah.
Yeah, they are definitely in range. The missiles may not make it to the west coast of the United States, but they'll make it to Japan. I mean, they just need like a paddle jumper or something to deliver that.
That's true.
Or a puddle jumper, not a paddle jumper.
Yeah.
Puddle jumper. Well, despite all this, I guess Sony kind of balled up because of the White House, and they ended up releasing the film to most streaming services on Christmas Eve, December 24th. And that also spread through file sharing websites, which is interesting because the next number I'm about to tell you is Sony ended up earning over $40 million from digital sales, which for a comedy, I don't know. I feel like that's a lot.
That does seem like a lot.
Considering the fact that it was heavily pirated movie.
Oh, yeah.
They also, yeah. Sony ended up also releasing the film later in the smaller art house theaters that they could obtain, which is about 500 theaters, and they made around $5 million in the United States.
Damn.
Yeah. They also released the film in the UK and Ireland in February of 2015. So I think they overall made, 11 million in theaters and then 40 million
Damn.
via digital sales. So I think it's still kind of worked out for everybody.
Definitely a success story. Do you think that the movie would have done that well if it just came out as scheduled in theaters, no questions asked? I
think it may have. It was very heavily marketed.
If it made 40 million in digital and then 11 million in theaters, so that's 51. So it would have been 51 seems like a lot for a comedy.
I was thinking 100, honestly.
You think it probably would have made around 100?
Yeah, because I really wouldn't have gotten to it until later. Because for me, I usually go see the newest stuff pretty soon.
Yeah.
And if it's already on digital, I'm like, fuck it. I'll wait till it's on Netflix.
That's true. That's true.
Like, I already paid for the movie one time, so I if I'm going to pay for a movie, it's going to be in the theater rather than watching it at home. If I'm going to watch it at home, maybe I'll get it on Blu-ray, but very rarely do I buy movies anymore. For the most part, I'll just wait till it's on Netflix or if it's on demand on Comcast.
I think I saw this the day that it came out on Netflix.
Yeah, same. No, I saw it the same. Once it was released, I was like, oh shit, YouTube. I watched it on YouTube. Like the YouTube where you buy the movie.
Oh, okay.
Or rent the movie.
Yeah. That was actually an underrated movie.
It was. I saw it on a laptop.
So my last one is probably the cult movie to end all cult movies, and it's The Big Lebowski. So The Big Lebowski premiered at the 1998 Sundance Film Festival in January of 1998. And
again, another one had no idea that it was a straight to VHS movie.
Yeah, it did have a theatrical release, but again, it did not do well. It grossed $5 million in its opening weekend and barely made back its $15 million budget with $17 million in ticket sales.
Wow. I mean, this is kind of just synonymous with Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
It's funny that we're here at the beginning with Big Lebowski. Not the beginning. I don't think that was their first movie, but
no.
Now we're fast forwarding, like how you were talking about Ballad of Buster Rhymes. What was it?
Buster Rhymes.
What was the name?
Buster Scruggs.
Buster Scruggs.
Buster Rhymes.
Buster Scruggs on Netflix. I mean, they went from straight to VHS, and now they did a full circle. Because you had No Country for Old Men, you had, but that's basically the only one I could think of that's not like a stereotypical.
It's kind
Joel
of funny.
and Ethan Coen movie.
We kind of had a little bit of a Coen Brothers bender this weekend. We watched
Fargo.
No, we watched The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and we watched No Country for Old Men. And we also watched 3:10 to Yuma, which is not a Coen Brothers movie, but a great movie.
I was like, wait, that's a Coen Brothers movie? God, I fucking love that
I know,
movie.
when we started watching it, I'm like, wait, let me make sure this isn't a Coen Brothers, because we had already watched 2 that day.
By the way, I watched Hostels with Christian Bale.
Oh, is that good?
It was kind of boring.
Really? Damn.
I thought it would be like 3:10 to Yuma. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm getting into this. And there were some good scenes, but for the most part, I was
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, because I really like 3:10 to Yuma. I like
because
him
guess
as
who
a
else is
cowboy.
in fucking Hostels for a minute? Fucking
Russell
the guy
Crowe?
you love so. Not Russell Crowe. Ben Foster.
Oh my God, Ben Foster.
Yeah. He's this guy that he has to transport to get hung, and he's a really bad guy.
Oh man. So Kathy was like, when Ben Foster first comes on screen at 3:10 to Yuma, she's like, who's that guy? I'm like, that's Ben fucking Foster. You don't know who that is?
What is it still awesome?
I loved every second of it.
It's such a good movie.
It is. I don't know if she liked it. That was her first time seeing it.
Hang me in the morning.
Yeah.
That guy's great in it too. I forget what his name is.
I hate that guy in everything. Just like
he's
an asshole
an
in
actor?
everything. No, I think he's good.
I think he's a good asshole. I think he's a good asshole.
He's in Walking Tall, I think. with The Rock?
Yes, he is.
He's an
He
asshole
is.
in that. He's really good, and I fucking hate him.
He is in Wolverine Origins that I know. All right. Back to
Big Lebowski. It's funny that you mentioned the Coen brothers' previous movies and forthcoming movies, that the reason that it did as well as it did, and you can make an argument that it didn't do well at all, was that people were expecting a great follow-up to Fargo, the previous Coen brothers movie. So
they're so different.
Yeah, they're completely different movies, and it's like, if you're going in expecting Fargo and you get Big Lebowski, like you're gonna have a bad time.
Coen version of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
that's like the Coen's version of Pulp Fiction for me.
It really is. And I read some articles about people that had seen the movie during release. Right. Was that people were leaving the theater confused, and they were disappointed in the movie, and so one of them even said that they were disappointed in the fact that the movie seems to like glorify being a slacker, and it had really bad reviews from people that were seeing the movie at that time.
Wow.
So it wasn't until 2002 that an LA Times writer wrote about the film's emerging cult status, and he realized that the film had a cult following when he attended a midnight screening at the New Beverly Cinema in Los Angeles, where he saw people quoting the movie, and they eventually had to turn people away because there was too many people there to see the movie.
I feel like that's synonymous for midnight showings, though.
Yeah, you only get the really hardcore fans.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, let me go." That's like going to like a fucking Comic-Con convention. Wow, people really love comics. Like, no, like,
that is true. Like, yeah,
you're
probably
going where people are going to quote the movie at a midnight premiere or midnight viewing.
Yep. So soon after the article came out, a programmer for a local midnight film series in Santa Cruz decided to screen The Big Lebowski on the first weekend that they started doing this midnight series. And he said that several hundred people showed up, like over 500 people showed up for this.
Wow.
And they also had to turn people away. So for the next 6 weeks, they showed the movie, and it was sold out every week.
Damn.
And this started the annual Lebowski Fest, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it is. In Louisville, Kentucky, there is a festival for Lebowski fans. And it started in Kentucky, yeah. Well, it's in other states now, but it originated in Kentucky.
Interesting. I wonder why.
It started in 2002 with about 150 fans and expanded to several cities. And the main event each year is a night of unlimited bowling.
It's a good way to celebrate The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, unlimited bowling, trivia.
Like Lebowski trivia.
Yes, Lebowski trivia.
Okay.
And it's usually held over a weekend, and it's like thousands of people show up nowadays. Like, it's insane.
I feel like The Big Lebowski is a semi-biographical movie about Jeff Bridges.
I want to believe that. I want to believe that Jeff Bridges is that awesome.
Have you heard him speak, though? He's very much a crazy person. I mean,
he does seem a little crazy.
I think so. He's a little off. If anything, this is how his life would have been if he wasn't like an actor and was successful.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Like,
I'm not mad at it either.
No, I'm not mad at it. Yeah, it's the alternate life of Jeff Bridges.
So another thing I did not know was that, like all great cult followings, like Star Wars has their own religion now. The Big Lebowski has its own religion.
What do you mean by religion?
It's a religion called Dudeism.
Oh, yes, I've heard of this.
It spreads the philosophy of the main character of the film and was founded in 2005. Also known as the Church of Latter-day Dude.
Oh, that's great.
Church
of Latter-day Dude. Do you just dress in a bathrobe and drink milk?
I guess so. Yeah, smoke weed, dress in bathrobe, carry a rug around with you.
Yeah.
It has 220,000 ordained Dudist priests. That's what they call them, Dudist priests.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's an alarming amount of people.
It really is.
And there's not just 220,000 that believe in this. Those are ordained dudist
Ministers,
priests.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although I wonder how quickly you can be an ordained dudist.
It's probably like a fee and a quiz.
A fee, a quiz, and they need to know how much weed you can smoke on a daily basis
Yeah.
and still function as a priest.
I just picture them sending you like a BuzzFeed, like what Lebowski character are you? And like if you get Lebowski, you're in. You're a dudist priest.
That's fantastic. All right, cool. Well, I would say this was a very productive week. But before we close things off, Kevin, I want to ask you one last question.
Okay.
And in a little twist of our topic, which famous straight-to-video actor could you see in a theatrically released Oscar movie?
Oh, God. Okay.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, can't include Creed, or Steven Seagal.
Oh, my God.
Didn't I tell you I love this question?
Well, Steven Seagal is automatically out. There's no way the guy can make a coherent movie. Especially now. Oh, man. I'm going to say Dolph Lundgren because he's like the most competent person on the list.
That's true. Like as far as intelligence wise.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Steven Seagal is like, I don't think I wouldn't trust him to form a complete sentence, let alone lead an Oscar movie.
I agree. Steven Seagal, the most I can see him in a theatrically released movie is like one of the henchmen of the villain Dorian from The Mask, you know, like one of those like
Yeah.
really 90s guys. In fact, I always thought one of the henchmen was Steven Seagal because he had like the shaved side head with like the little top of hair. Do you know the guy? He was like one of the thug guys.
Yep.
That I thought was Steven Seagal for the longest time. I feel like that guy could have been Steven Seagal.
That's funny you say that because I've always thought that Michael Shannon looked like a henchman from The Mask. And it's funny that you say that you think the same thing about, like, I don't know, it's just funny.
I wonder if all henchmen from The Mask have gone on to fantastic careers. I doubt
it's probably
that,
we don't even realize it's like Brad Pitt, George Clooney. It's like how they all got their start.
Okay, I respect Dolph Lundgren. I'm gonna go with Jean-Claude Van Damme because I could totally see him in like a 18th century like French period piece movie. Imagine.
That's true.
He's already got the super French accent, even though I think he's like from Belgium.
Yeah,
but
I think he is. Don't they speak?
They speak French there.
Yeah, they speak like half of Belgium speaks French, right?
I think all of them speak French.
Oh, really?
Or German, maybe.
Yeah, I thought like half of it was German, half of it was French.
Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, thanks again, everyone, for sticking with us to the end of the episode. As always, if you want to get more Wicked Hot movie mayhem in your life, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wicked Hot Talk and Facebook. I always forget Facebook.
You always forget Facebook. It's redhead stepchild.
And in case you want to check us out on any other podcast feeds, go ahead because we can be found everywhere where podcasts can be found. Thanks again, guys. This is John.
And Kevin. I feel like we haven't said it ever, but we're also on Spotify. I don't know if anyone ever knew that.
We are on Spotify. This is true. All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next week.
No, 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks for our final Wicked Hot Movie Mayhem episode.
Bye, everybody.